Hello everybody, it's Tim here again, here with another movie review, this time for 13 Fanboy, directed by Debbie Sue Voorhees. Now, for people that don't know who Debbie Sue Voorhees is, she was the chick with the amazing rack in Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning, which was actually didn't even have Jason, it was a Jason copycat. As far as this goes, she's been working on this film for some time. I think it actually came out on streaming last year, but I only got to see it now. It's pretty much like trying to be like a homage and tribute to Friday the 13th with a lot of the actors from Friday the 13th like playing themselves. And they get introduced with like title cards underneath them or whatever explaining who they are, but it does get a little old because most of the people who are watching this or going to seek this out are already fans, so they really know who these people are, and just pretty much got a killer running around like killing off cast members from the actual films. You get Laura Park Lincoln in here in like a really small role where she gets like abducted by the killer, and you never find out what happens to her. The movie never explains it at all. I guess we're just supposed to assume she was killed off screen because the movie never explains it at all. And Debbie Sue Voorhees, the director, gets killed at the beginning. I'll go ahead and say this: most of the acting in this is bad. Like C.J. Graham, he was all right, but everybody else was just like okay to bad. Like the main girl was like okay, she's fine, but all the actors playing themselves, like Kane Hodder and Debbie Sue Voorhees and everybody else, they're just like okay to bad. Like Kane Hodder gets a moment in here where he's killed and he's given like this soliloquy or whatever about him dying and all that. And he's like Kane Hodder on the screen. That's the immortal Kane Hodder. And it's just he doesn't sell it at all. He's bad at playing himself. And Kane Hodder gets killed off like really early. That doesn't really make much sense at all. And the killer in the movie turns out to be the dude who like runs Womp Stomp Films, which they actually have a joke about that in the movie at the end because like the killers have recorded all their murders and all that. They're showing it at the end, and Womp Stomp Films pops up. It's the dude who like made Never Hike Alone and Never Hike in the Snow, which I actually like those two fan films. However, they're not bad. Never Hike Alone was better than Never Hike in the Snow, but Never Hike in the Snow wasn't bad. Um, but like I was saying, Debbie Sue Voorhees, she definitely looks older here, but you can still tell she still has an amazing rack. So she still got that going, and she doesn't look bad for her age. But yeah, everybody else is just pretty much like bad acting. In this movie, the problem with it right off the bat is it takes itself too seriously. And despite having like these Friday the 13th actors in it that the fans will know, this film feels nothing like a tribute to Friday the 13th. It feels like a ripoff of Scream, which I'm going to lay that on the director, Debbie Sue Voorhees. You can tell she's a first time director. She does not know what she's doing with this film. She's going the entirely wrong direction with it from right off the bat by trying to make it a ripoff of Scream with the killer like making phone calls and stuff and trying to be like Scream and with a mask that just kind of looks passable but doesn't fit in a Friday the 13th tribute film like this. Get to the end, the killer gets in a fight with C.J. Graham, ends up finally taking him out. Like I said, he's alright. He gets took out though, and then the main girl, who's like this MMA fighter or whatever, like takes him out. And then you find at the end that the chick from Friday the 13th Part 4, who was like the black hair girl whose name I forgot, who got killed on the raft, I believe. She was also in Weird Science, I think. You find out that she's actually also one of the killers, and they've been targeting Dee Wallace and all that, trying to make like their own horror movie and everything. That they've recorded all the kills and all that shit. And then the MMA girl just happens to show up at the end and take her out as well. So Dee Wallace gets saved, and that's the end of the movie. It's really corny. Doesn't work. I will say this: for the low budget, the film ultimately looks fine. Looks okay for the amount of money they had for most of it. The editing is bad in certain parts, but yeah, overall, the concept for this movie is better than the movie itself. Doing like a tribute to Friday the 13th with some killer like going around. What they should have done, like killing people from the movies, but what they should have done was had the killer like be going around killing the final girls who got away in each of the movies. That would have been much better. Or the ones who survived out of the franchise. That would have been much better, much more interesting. And it would have been like a cool inside joke if at the end the killers did turn out to be know that it turned out it was multiple killers and that it was like each of the people who played Jason or some of the people who played the Jason, different Jasons in each movie, and they were like trying to finish what their characters weren't able to do in the films. That would have been more entertaining and more fun and more of like a meta commentary, like comedic thing because that's the biggest problem with this movie. It tries to be a rip off of Scream, takes itself way too seriously, and by doing that, it just winds up being just a generic slasher film instead of taking advantage of the concept that it had. This just feels like a direct-to-video slasher flick. It does not feel like a Friday the 13th tribute film. It feels like a Scream ripoff, which that's the problem here. It should have been like Kane Hodder and like C.J. Graham and maybe another Jason actor or whatever, like going around and killing the survivors from the movies. That would have been much more interesting. Like they're trying to finish what they started and all that because like they actually believe they're Jason. Or it could even be Kane Hodder doing it, or just him, and you could like make it a joke because he's known like to be so method as Jason that he's like, you could make it a joke that he's like lost his mind with reality and he actually thinks he's Jason and he's going around killing everybody. That would be really funny. But yeah, overall, it just doesn't feel anything like Friday the 13th. You don't have the over-the-top gory kills. They're just much more tame kills, and the whole plot just feels like a Scream ripoff. And it feels like that's what the movie's trying to do. Like it's trying to be like a meta film, but not a tribute to Friday the 13th, despite the fact that it's like coming off the backbone of Friday the 13th or using the backbone of Friday the 13th. That's just trying to be like a meta film, like Scream ripoff. And maybe that's what Debbie Sue thought would be the right like approach for this material, but it's the complete wrong path. This is a silly idea. You need to have fun with it. The movie takes itself way too seriously. You got Corey Feldman here who doesn't play himself, which just feels weird. He should just play himself. Although I will say his acting is fine in the movie. As this sleazy like movie director who's just trying to have sex with this chick. Yeah, overall, 0 out of 4. This was awful. The editing was pretty bad in some spots. This is not something I will ever watch again. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you again.